Where's Melania Trump? And particularly, where's her angry news conference? Where's her angry denials now that the United States Supreme Court has refused to overturn Donald Trump's judgment against him in New York that he's a sex abuser of E Jean Carroll and other women? Where is her angry denial now? See, there's a connection between E Jean Carroll and Melania Trump that I'm going to flesh out for you right here on Legal AF and the MeidasTouch Network. Because the top line you've heard, E Jean Carroll's going to get her $5.5 million and is probably well on her way to getting the other $83.5 million that she is owed by Donald Trump because he was adjudged to be a sex abuser of her, that based on other evidence of sex abuse of other women, in addition to E Jean Carroll, that he defamed her and he owes her punitive damages. That is the top line. But right below the surface, I want to focus on particularly the testimony of two other women. Natasha Stoynoff, who was a People magazine reporter who in December 2005 testified that she was there to do a puff piece about the new marriage of Donald Trump and Melania. They had just been married at Mar-a-Lago when he sexually abused her. She testified at the trial. There was even some implications in her testimony that Melania may have known about what happened to her because she testified that a year later, when she was out in front of Trump Tower, because she's still on the People magazine beat, she saw Melania with Barron Trump, baby Barron, in her arms, and that Melania gave her a big hug. Melania later denied it. See, she's big on angry denials because she didn't want to have that connection to Natasha Stoynoff and the implication that Melania was apologizing for something. And yet there are at least 6 people, including an eyewitness who was there for the meeting between Natasha Stoynoff and Melania Trump, who says it happened. I'm Michael Popok. It happened. You're on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get down. No, I'm not going to let Melania off the hook for what the United States Supreme Court just ruled. E Jean Carroll had not one but 2 cases. During her case, the first case, she had women testify about sexual abuse that happened to them in and around the time of her attack in 1996 in the Bergdorf Goodman department store in the dressing room, where she was sexually abused, as the jury determined. There were 2 people in particular that testified, and the Access Hollywood tape also came in, which is an important piece of evidence as well. Natasha Stoynoff testified. Now, Donald Trump had spent years denying that Natasha Stoynoff, that he attacked her, with his basic misogynistic, anti-woman comments about her not being his type. Look at her. I would never do that, as if rape is some sort of a positive sexual activity. Now, when he got up on a stage and said that he was going to be the protector of women, Natasha Stoynoff was interviewed by Joy Reid, and this was her reaction. Play the clip.
I am your protector. I want to be your protector. As president, I have to be your protector. I hope you don't make too much of it. You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared. You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
Natasha, what do you think when you hear Donald Trump say he will be women's protector?
Well, I think you know my answer to that. When I heard that clip, I felt sick to my stomach. I immediately sent it to the other women I know who have been groped.
Now, here's how she testified at trial for E Jean Carroll. She testified as following. She said, Melania left the room at Mar-a-Lago. He had his hands up on her shoulders and he pushed Stoynoff against the wall and started kissing her, holding her against the wall. When she shoved him away, this is her testimony at trial, Trump came toward her again. She described being in shock. She told the jury, he was against me and just holding my shoulders back. I didn't say words. I couldn't. I tried. I was just flustered and sort of shocked and no words came out of me. I tried though. I remember just sort of mumbling. We'll put up a picture of her at that day at Mar-a-Lago. She had known Trump from other coverage and was friendly with Trump. Here's a picture of her, including with Melania. A butler, she testified, came into the room to fetch Trump and Stoynoff about their interviews, and then he led them back to a couch. Melania was on her way. She also testified that Trump told her, you know you're going to have an affair with me, don't you? Making reference to a article that was in the New York Post about Marla Maples saying sex with Donald Trump was the best sex that she's ever had. She also testified about seeing Melania Trump a year later with baby Barron in her arms and got a big hug. You know what the suggestion there is. My day, it revolves around information, interviews, legal analysis, research, conversations, prepping for shows. There's a constant stream of details coming in, and the challenge isn't finding information. It's keeping track of it. That's why I've been using Plod. Plod creates AI-powered wearable devices that help capture, organize, and recall information from conversations throughout the day. Whether it's an interview, a meeting, a discussion, or a research call, Plod captures the details so you don't have to rely entirely on your memory. It's trusted by more than 2 million users worldwide, supports transcription in 112 languages, and is built with enterprise-grade privacy and compliance standards. I have the Plod NotePin S. Between interviews, legal analysis, and research and prepping for the show, I'm constantly processing information. What I like about the NotePin S is that it helps me capture thoughts, conversations, and important details throughout the day without constantly pulling out my phone. When your work depends on facts, details, conversations, Plod helps you stay organized and informed. Get up to 20% off with code LEGALAF at plod.ai/legalaf. That's PLAUD.ai/legalaf. Now, let me play you a clip. There was a second woman who also testified. Let me back up for a moment. One of the things that triggered Natasha Stoynoff from People magazine to eventually come out with her story is when the Access Hollywood audio tape came out in and around the same time of the 2005 interview in which he was bragging to Billy Bush on Access Hollywood about being able to physically, sexually attack women. She said when she heard this audio, she thought it's happened to other people. I'm not the only one. Play the clip.
Moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and fuck her. She was married.
That's huge news there.
No, Nancy.
Yeah.
No, this was marriages. And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. Then all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. I can do anything.
Now, when she was on the stand, and they had already played the Access Hollywood tape, and she testified, she cried on the stand. She said she had personal survivor guilt, that if she had come forward faster, that other women would not have been attacked by Donald Trump. That just goes to her credibility, obviously credited by the jury. Now, she's not the only person who testified during that trial. Jessica Leeds testified. Jessica Leeds was unfortunately upgraded to first class on a plane. She was sitting in the back. She got sat next to somebody. She didn't even know who he was at the time until he introduced himself to a guy named Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, her testimony at trial, credited and believed by the jury, is that he attacked her. And then, of course, when he was pushing 80 and this woman was in her 70s. So, oh, look at her. I wouldn't. Yeah, we're talking about back in 1995, 1996. We're talking about 30 years ago. Here's a clip of Jessica Leeds reacting to Donald Trump making comments about her. Play the clip.
It couldn't have happened. It didn't happen. And she would not have been the chosen one.
When you heard that, what did you think?
I laughed out loud. I couldn't believe that he was using that word like some sort of cult figure. I personally believe he has convinced himself that it didn't happen. He is a predator of women. I was not the first. Of course, I was not the last. But there have been enough so that he doesn't remember.
Now, just to remember who we're talking about here and who Melania is ultimately defending, I want to show you two clips from Donald Trump's past. One of them is the deposition that he gave in the E Jean Carroll case. Now, I've had the lawyer, Robbie Kaplan, who's asking the questions on Legal AF before. And she let it be known, and it's out in the press, that at some point after the first day of deposition was concluded, Donald Trump called her the C word. He said to her, "I'll see you next Tuesday." You do the math of the alphabet, okay? And Robbie reportedly turned to her team and said, "We don't have an event next Tuesday in the case." And then they said to her, "He just called you the C word." That's Donald Trump. So it should come as no surprise when he gives this answer to Robbie Kaplan about E Jean Carroll, who's now going to be collecting close to $100 million from him between now and the fall, I assure you. Play the clip.
In fact, I think she said it was sexy, didn't she? It was very sexy to be Didn't she say that?
So, sir, I just want to confirm, it's your testimony that E Jean Carroll said that she loved being sexually assaulted by you?
Well, based on her interview with Anderson Cooper, I believe that's what took place.
But what surprise is this? Back in the 80s, early 90s, Donald Trump, appearing on David Letterman, defended Mike Tyson, the boxer who had been sent away to jail for rape and sexual abuse, defending Mike Tyson and going after the victim. Play the clip.
Mike Tyson was greeted at his door at 1 o'clock in the morning by a woman. He then...
Well, we don't need to go through the case again.
But it's ridiculous. The woman was dancing at 8 o'clock, and this guy's in jail for 6 years. I don't understand it. I think it's wrong. I think he
but due process of law prevailed. So then
I think
you
he had
came
one of
in...
the worst defense lawyers I've ever seen. This was the worst defense. I mean, their defense essentially was that anybody that goes out with Mike Tyson knows she's going to be, and therefore Mike Tyson, this is his defense. I think Mike Tyson should fight. Mike Tyson should supply millions and millions and millions of dollars to victims, and I think that's a hell of a lot better than him sitting in a jailhouse for 6 years doing nothing.
So where is the angry denial by Melania Trump that none of this happened, now that the United States Supreme Court said that he's exhausted all appeals, and that judgment of 9 jurors, 6 men and 3 women in New York, in favor of E Jean Carroll stands, that the scarlet letter branded on Donald Trump of sex abuser stands, that he has to pay not only the $5.5 million for now, but I believe this is the glide path, or this is the lighted runway for E Jean Carroll to win about the $83.5 million judgment that she got from a second jury after Donald Trump testified at trial. Now, I've interviewed E Jean Carroll about it, and he just would not stop defaming her. And the moment of truth at the trial is when Robbie Kaplan, the same lawyer that he called the C word, told the jury, write a big check for Donald Trump to make him stop defaming my client. He got up in the middle of the closing argument while this female attorney was talking, buttoned his jacket, and stormed out of the room. That's the moment, according to E Jean Carroll, that she knew the jury was in her favor. Play the clip.
What was the moment in that trial? Was it the photo and Robbie's masterful cross-examination that got played about not recognizing you along with your former husband in the picture?
That is the funniest.
You're moral amazing.
Is that the turning point for the jury?
Yeah, the dialogue, I said to Sean earlier, we were discussing your book. I said it was, Chico Marx is told by Samuel Beckett. It was hilarious.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. But the cross-examination was hilarious.
I think, now people will argue with me about this. That was the moment when the Carroll team knew we had won back in the deposition. We just knew.
Right.
the moment we thought we won the trial was Robbie was giving her final argument. And she was fired up. She had taken all the evidence from his fraud case deposition about how much money he had and was telling the jury how rich he was. And as she was saying, how much will it take to make him stop? She drove him so insane, he stood up and walked out.
All right, he left.
And the jury saw that. And boy, that's what a guilty man does. He turns tail, and Robbie Kaplan ran him out of court.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, that's what we do here. We tie it all together. I'm not going to let a headline go by without reminding our audience of what we're dealing with Donald Trump and his complete unfitness to be the president of the United States. As we move into the 250th anniversary of America, it's time that we rip the mask off of Donald Trump, and we do it here on MeidasTouch on Legal AF on an hourly, if not minute-by-minute basis. I'm Michael Popok. Come over to Legal AF YouTube channel, will you? And hit the free subscribe button for the holidays. Until my next report, this is Michael. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.